A guten Erev Shabbos. Many of us in our Kehillah, most of us in fact, came from somewhere else. We were born in another land, and for one reason or another, we came to this place at a certain point in our lives. For those few native Torontonians, you'll have to humor us immigrants for a few minutes as we look back on our journey. Some of us were moving away from a situation we didn't want to be part of anymore. Some of us saw something here that drew us along. Others of us came here because the people we looked up to and trusted told us, come here. Depending on how old we were, there was a certain amount of paperwork we had to navigate, affidavits, certifications, notarized documents, statements, more affidavits. Or maybe you came as a kid and someone else did the administration. Once we got here, though, how much of our homeland stayed with us? I was identified at a conference last month as obviously not Torontonian by someone from Calgary. He said, "You say Toronto like someone who's not from Toronto." So there's the accent, the lilt, the vocabulary that we brought with us. How about the perspective? How many of us think in pounds and ounces and miles rather than metric? My internal thermostat is set on Fahrenheit. We keep translating prices into the currency of our native country, even if it's now defunct. I like to say, I enjoy living in the past. After all, it's where I grew up. Jacob, our patriarch, Yaakov Avinu, whose name became Yisrael, lived the last 17 years of his life in Egypt. Rashi tells us that from the name of the Parsha, Vayechi, and he lived, we learn that this last chapter of Yaakov's life was the best time of his life. It should be no surprise since he was reunited with his long-lost son Joseph, and spent the rest of his days surrounded by his children and grandchildren. Toward the end of our Sedra this week, we read about Yaakov's demise. The Torah says, Yaakov completed his directive to his sons, he withdrew his feet onto the bed, breathed his last, and he was gathered into his nation. Vayechal Yaakov letzavos azbanav, v'yesof raglav el hamita, Vayigva v'ye'asef el amav. The Torah in Tractate Tainus famously comments that this passage suggests Yaakov, Jacob, in fact did not die. Yaakov Avinu lo meis. Goes on to say, Mazaro b'chayim, afhu b'chayim. As long as his children are alive, he is alive, which gives way to sort of a midrash look on life and death. In short, we live on through our future generations, those we influence. Other commentaries say, in not as many words, basically, that's absurd. Yaakov was embalmed, people mourned him, they eulogized him, they wailed over him, and they buried him. How can you possibly say he didn't die? Well, for one thing, the soul never dies. The soul is connected to God, so it's eternal. It can never die. The body, of course, does. And when the body expires is when we move from Olam Hazeh, the temporary world we live in here, to Olam Haba, the world that is coming, the world that is constantly on its way. Now, when you move from one country to another, sometimes you get to take things with you. Clever people figure out how to transfer assets overseas, but still, it's a huge change of venue. But we can't transfer our worldly wealth from this world to the next. As the old saying goes, Tachrichen macht men unkeshenes. Burial shrouds have no pockets. There's nothing to take with you but your good name and the good things that you did in this world. Imagine a person immigrating with nothing, no possessions, no goods, only their good name and their reputation. And this is even more than that. If you think of someone moving not to a new location, but maybe returning home, think of a diplomat, an ambassador, who's stationed in Ottawa, but after a few years they return back to wherever they came from, France, with the food, the friends, the environment that they were always thinking of and longing for. This is more the experience of Jacob, of Yaakov, in the view of the Ishbitzer Rebbe, Rabbi Mordechai Yosef Leiner. He explains that Yaakov's best years were indeed those 17 years in Egypt because with his children, with his values, with the Torah that he taught and learned and lived and hoped would be the inheritance of his family, his descendants, which is us, by the way, that last chapter of life in this world was really a taste of life in the next world. While he was here, He was already partly living the dream, quite literally. He was detached from the suffering and anxiety of this world and living in the sole bliss of Olam Haba. Remember, we said that's the world that is constantly arriving. For him, it was largely already here. So passing through that portal from this world to the next one was as effortless and inconsequential as someone changing into a new suit of clothing. It's a fascinating insight into our view of what's important and what we're connected to and what we long for. A midrash compares various ways of parting from this world. The death of Moses is said to be like removing a hair from milk, so painless, so low friction, shall we say, in contrast to others for whom separating from this world is like pulling a thistle from wool. In other words, it can be effortless or it can be traumatic. What we don't know scares us sometimes, and the transition from one world to another is unknown to all of us, so it can be a little more than scary to contemplate. Maybe that's one reason that our texts and the traditions that come with them give us a chance periodically to revisit these ideas and see where our own thinking and feeling is in relation to them. At this moment in Jewish history, it seems like most are questioning the wisdom of sticking around wherever they are. Nobody wants to be the last one to turn out the lights. People are leaving here for other places. There was a report that 80,000 Israelis have left Israel to live somewhere else permanently. Seems like everyone's on the move or thinking about moving. For those of us who have already located once, and we all know of people in our shul for whom this was even the third stop on their life's journey, we might not be so quick to pack up. Then again, we might. We just might. And in the larger scheme of things, when after 120 years our time in this world wraps up, how much will we long for the old days, the old country, the place where we were born or grew up, or like Yaakov Avinu, spent the best years of our lives? Some say there will be no memory of this world in the next, not to mention no longing for it. Others say that we will miss those opportunities that we have now, that the souls in Olam Haba envy us the ability to say even one Yehei Shmei Rabbah. When we make a siyum on a portion of study, a Talmud tractate, or something else, we have a little conversation with the text that we just finished studying. We say, our thoughts are with you, may your thoughts be with us. We will not forget you, may you not forget us, not in this world, nor in Olam Haba, the world that is continually arriving. And the more we make ourselves at home in that world, the more comfortable we will be when we arrive there. Shabbat Shalom.